Now, as we are speaking about computer, we should also be aware how the generation of computers have been overlapped with the recent development in the forms of technology. Now, when we call it as generation zero, it was being called as mechanical calculating machines. This evolution was from the year 1642 to 1945. Within this evolutions, there were some minor evolutions which also took place. Let us have a look on that. Calculating clock. This was being done by a scientist called Wilhelm Sickend from the year 1592 to 1635. Pascaline, the second evolution, which took place from Blaise Pascal from 1623 to 1662. Different engine. Now, this was being done by Charles Babbage from 1791 to 1871, and he also designed but never built an analytical engine. He had designed analytical engine, but he had not built it physically. The other evolution took place was punch card tabulating machines. That was being done by Hermann Hollerith, which was being done in the year of 1860 to 1929. So this was being called as generation zero because during that time computer was just a evoluting business. It was just growing. People were doing researches on it into the different forms. And during that period, if you look from calculating clock to Pascaline to different engine, analytical engine, computer has grown. Then came the first generation of computer. Now, see, we have gone through generation zero. Now we are moving towards first generation, which is being called as vacuum tube computers. Now, this generation of computers was from 1945 to 1953. Now, it was being called as ENIAC. Now, let us see what is the full form of ENIAC. Electronic Number Integrator and Computer. Electronic Number Integrator and Computer, ENIAC, by John Mushley and J. Purser Escrade, the University of Pennsylvania, in the year 1946. So ENIAC was the new evolution which took place in the form of vacuum tubes computer, and it was being done by the scientists John Mushley and J. Purser Escrade. IBM 650 produced the mass computer in the year 1955, but which was phased out. The mass computer was being phased out in the year of 1969. So IBM was the first computer manufacturing company which manufactured the mass production of these computers, but phased out their production in the year of 1969. Then came the second generation, which we call it as a transistor generation, where the size of the computer was being reduced to some extent. Now, in this generation, it was from 1954 to 1965. Now, the components that were being used, one was IBM 7094 Scientific, and 1401 business was being used. Digital Equipment Corporation, PDP-1, UNIVAC 1100, and Controlled Data Corporation 1604 were being involved in the transition of computer. That was being called as transistorized computer, which had an era from 1954 to 1965. Then came the third generation, which was called as integrated circuits of computer, which was from 1965 to 1980. Now, this integrated circuit of computer was being manufactured by IBM 360, DCPDP-8, PDP-11, Gray 1 supercomputers. Now, during this era, during the third generation of evolution of computer, IBM had gained overwhelming dominance in the industry with respect to computers. Now, IBM, because IBM was involved in the evolution of the computer, it was involved in the research that was linked with the computer. So it had gained a dominance in the industry. It was considered to be the pioneer in computer industry. Now there were two players where we say that computer manufacturers of this era were characterized as IBM and the Bunch, Bunch. Now you would be thinking, what do you mean by Bunch? You have not heard something called as Bunch. Yes. B stands for Borges. U stands for Unisys. N stands for NCR. C stands for Control Data. And H stands for Honeywell. So IBM and Bunch. So apart from IBM, there were five different other companies also who were doing some sort of research with respect to the evolution of computer during this time. Then came the fourth generation, which is called as the VLSI, very large scale integrated circuits. Now, when we say very large scale integrated circuits, the first question that comes in mind is how many components are being interlinked with each other? How many components are speaking with each other? How many components are working together with each other when we say very large scale? Now, it includes 10,000 components or 10,000 plus components that are working with each other per chip. Now you can understand per chip has more than 10,000 components that are interacting with each other as an organization to give us the desired output. Plus, this VLSI also had the feature of the creation of microprocessors. It may be an 8085 processor or 8089, but also the microprocessors were being embedded in the single chip. Now, the other question that should come to your mind is, if such was the thing, who was building this processors? Who was building this VLSI? It was Intel. Intel 4004 was the first one which was being built, and that was being called as 4-bit Intel. The latest versions are 8080, 8086, 8088, 8089, and the idea of personal computer was being implemented during this phase. Now, when you look at the generation of the computers, transistor generation started from 58 to 63. Small scale integration started up to 100 components in a chip. In the previous slide, when we said about VLSI, there 10,000 components were being included in a chip, and it was being called as a very large scale integrated circuits. Now, when it came to small scale integration, it was only up to 100 components which were coordinating with each other to give us the desired output and result. When it came to the medium scale, now see, from small scale it was 100. From medium scale, which is called as medium scale integration, MSI, this was the evolution which took place in the year 1971. And the minimum components that were used in MSI was starting from 100 and going up to 3000 in one side. Small scale is 100, MSI goes up to 3000, and about that, up to 10,000, it becomes a VLSI with a processor embedding in it. This is how the evolution of a small scale integration, medium scale integration, and very large scale integration came into picture. Now, very large scale integration VLSI is being used till date, where we have more number of components that are being added to it. Now it has grown from the size of 10,000 to 1 lakh to 1 crore components inside a single chip. Now, ultra large scale integration has more than 1 crore components in one chip. So from small scale to medium scale to VLSI, and now we have ultra large scale integration, which is also considered to be a fruitful process where it has allowed us to reduce the size of the computing device and to increase the processing speed. The device size has reduced, the computing speed has increased in case of very large scale integration.